incentive is the key to fulfill the demand into the early seed user base that's given. And secondly, that layer of access should be available to everyone. The way we see that, we should let everybody use the Agentic OS. Our sole goal is to bring the users to use the Agentic operating system to get their crypto life easier. For people who want to go extra mile to want to get even a better use case, a more adventurous experience, then they could opt in to redeem to get these smart devices in our network.
What do you think of the whole DeepSeek thing? Do you have a view?
Yeah, I mean, like yesterday we read the article from the founder of Claude, right? So I think it's a very interesting review. The way I see it, first of all, as lay out a basic principle, tech is tech. AI is for greater good for humanity, brings the efficiency up, and the technology can do a lot of things. So that is, I just throw it out there. Second thing is open source and closed source. The way internet evolved is based on open source, and the way innovation is based on open source, so that technology and smart engineers across the world can collab and bring the value together. I think that's critical. And thirdly, I think necessity is the mother of invention. It's always been the case, especially in a startups field as well as in the AI. I think U.S. as a land of freedom and innovation should know more. Should know more than anybody than that. So let me put these three things out there. But
That was the irony to me too, man, is that we thought we were doing open source out here, and then you just get absolutely destroyed by some Chinese model that comes absolutely out of nowhere. And then on the back of that, Alibaba launches theirs, and it actually looks extremely competitive. I mean, did you expect China to do something like this in an open source way? Like, where did this come from?
as always, because 5 years ago, I was in the 6-7 years ago when I was still in the mobile advertising space. There were being people using AI to do better targeting for better real-time bidding for ads. So at the time I see things are getting different. For me, AI is a derivative of the big data, and who has a lot of data? The basically two countries. One is in the US, the other is in China. Who has the less regulation to use all the data? That's China, not the US. So who can train the big data and the LLM better? Well, that may be China, not the US, ironically. But on the flip side, I do see again, I think the necessity is the mother of invention. When the people are hands tight with all the chips and so on and so forth, people need to focus on algorithm level of optimization. And today, actually, yesterday, a report goes out. Actually, the DeepSeek folks not only train with whatever models they have out there, maybe like open AIs, whatnot, but also they deeply get out to the nitty gritty to change the GPU code to the level that got around all the limitations NVIDIA introduced, meaning that the whole efficiency level can be applied not only on the NVIDIA's chips, but also can do AMD's chips and so on and so forth, or maybe down the road Huawei's chips. I think that is the level of innovation. The future lies into, or the whole innovation or whole industrial revolutions based on AI. That's for sure. And this year we will see tons of changes among these solutions. And I see DeepSeek is just a wake up call for everyone, saying, "Hey, look, what's the reality? What's the real first principle?" So far, every first principle for all the headlines we hear is about, hey, whoever has the GPU has it. Now, I think for good or bad, I think DeepSeek gave everybody another perspective on how you can do innovation with a limitation. I think, look, like capitalism aside, I think, look, it's yes, the US has all the chips power, that's for sure. With that said, the market that uses AI may not just limit to the US. There will be Europe, there will be global South, there'll be another um, there'll be another like 6 billion people outside the US, which is 300 million. So I think there's like it's gonna be. I think the first thing and the right thing to do is bring AI technology to everyone in the globe so that everybody can evolve. So that's how I see in terms of technology for a better good.
100%. Yeah, things are really heating up every day in the AI space, I feel like.
I understand it's necessary. I understand that whatever people say out there is necessary. I just do wish that the U.S. entrepreneurs can, and do understand from the interest level, like they cannot say, "Hey, I'm closed source and I have to open source." So what's the they have to defend it. I do understand that perspective. But I think now I'm interested to say like Mark Zuckerberg is in a very good place, which also reflect on the stock price. Like when everybody's taking 10%, 15%, they're up 1%.
Yeah, because he was, I guess, an early proponent of open source, which it seems like it's the way the industry is going these days. But
It is.
let's
Open source is winning.
let's jump in. Maybe before we dive into UpNetwork itself, I want to touch quickly on your background. So you spent a lot of time at top gaming studios and also at Tron. And I'm curious how your experience is there in terms of gaming, in terms of mobile, in terms of kind of consumer crypto and crypto that's marketed towards retail. How did those experiences inform your strategy now at UpNetwork?
That's a very good question. So for consumer internet, there are majorly three business models, or maybe four. So number one is gaming. Number two is advertising. Number three is e-commerce. Number four, maybe fintech. So these are these top use cases in consumer internet in Web2 era, and I'm lucky to get deeply involved in the gaming and the advertising world. I think the gaming really tells how the retail get engaged. In Web2, basically the whole mass user base and the retail user base they want to get entertained. So the biz model is going bread and butter between advertising model and gaming. Basically, how to drive traffic to the users so they can consume, and the business gets the revenue while the users gets what they're looking for. It's their motivation, which just get excited and engaged. But oftentimes, whichever get people engaged, also really deep down related to people's sentiment, psychology. So gaming in Web2, whether we play immersive PC or console games, or we play some fast-paced mobile comedy games like builders or strategies or whatnot, fundamentally, people are playing their role and trying to fulfill some tasks. And also the real trigger of payment is between people versus people. When people are putting at the peers, they tend to behave at pressure, and that is a time where people get triggered into paying. These are the things learned from early days Korean games and also Chinese game companies, and then mass majority of the App Store games are now dominated by various other studios driving the free-to-play model, which is a super interesting concept where I got into full-time into crypto in 2017 when I early on being the early members of Tron, where I was heading business and marketing. So it's great. At the beginning, at the founding days of Tron, we were really positioning Tron as a Web3 Tencent, or basically trying to bring the entertainment to Web3, right? Because we know entertainment is a good grab to enter mass adoption, which also, ends up to the early on acquisition of BitTorrent at the time, brought in over 120 million normies, so Web2 normies onto crypto. I mean, again, I think mass adoption like today we're having with Telegram bringing over 1 billion MAUs to be crypto accessible. That's a phenomenal move. Mass adoption is always the case. Granted, you need to offer some early incentives, but again, it's a funnel theory, right? Once we have big enough people and offer certain level incentives, and then you can see, snowball effect afterwards.
Interesting. So I mean, it's an amazing seat, I guess, you had to see a lot of this transformation. And I mean, Tron has kind of gone about it in their own way. I think, there's a lot of negative things I think the US had said about Justin Sun, but the one thing you got to give him is he's a creative guy and he's figured out how to do some very interesting things. And I think what he kind of figured out early was, crypto as a money use case and stablecoins would proliferate far faster than anyone thought. And, with that happening, he's now sort of put himself in an extremely influential position worldwide by kind of seeing the product vision, 4 or 5 years ahead of everyone else. Now, in our conversations, you kind of strike me as someone who similarly tends to think maybe 3 to 5 years ahead of where the world is today. And you're always sort of building towards, even mentally, like what you think the future looks like. So can you tell me a little bit about, what UpNetwork is? And in particular, like how does UpNetwork, the company you founded, sort of fit with your vision of where the world is going in 3 to 5 years?
For sure. So UpNetwork is a agentic operating system that drives user intent to the variety of agents through the smart devices. So we've been cranking out quite a bit and been working with a lot of partners. I think we can unveil down the road. The way I see 2025 is definitely dominated by AI. That's that's no brainer. Everybody see that. But specifically with agents, that's kind of a world changing. Especially now, especially with agents be able to trigger or own their own crypto wallets. That is mind blowing. It's an aha moment, like happened late last year for me, and what really strike me is so-called we being early on crypto, whatever cycles we are, we claim ourselves being crypto native, but really realizing that agents are the real crypto native, that they can engage Yapper as well as hire employ each other in the kind of a crypto currency based relationship, even extend further to engage humans involved into their agenda. This is mind blowing. Granted, we are nowhere close to this narrative or fantasy, but certainly we see all the tools, especially the regulation side, towards that direction. So that gets me thinking. So what would facilitate the adoption? Again, my game and advertising hat that comes out again is like, where is the user adoption? How do we get the users? It turns out to be for a normie to access agent that they need to get that through a smart device that everybody is using. Now, the smart device lives in every corner of our daily life already, namely smartphones, namely smart computers, namely like fridge and so on and so forth. But also down the road, we see like a huge pivotal change to the AI glasses, which I think this is the anchor for the smart device for the post-smartphone era.
That's an interesting thesis. So you're going all in, not only on the software side, thinking through agentic systems and how people are going to interact using agents, but then you're also tying that to what you see as like almost a hardware revolution, whereby, we are going to move towards augmented reality and, glasses being out there in everyday life. Can you walk me through a little bit of sort of why you're going down the glasses route versus maybe something like a phone? Because I know that might have been where you started off.
I think it would be cool to show people. Give me 1 sec here. But Roy came to the office last week and he gave me the Move phone. It's up branded at the back. I don't know. I thought it was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
So we work thanks to our partner Movement. We have our first gen of movement based smart device out there. But let me back up a little bit. So when I was in college, which was like at the time, it was the time of Motorola and Nokia. And I realized early on that these devices are something that accompany everybody 24/7, more than your watch, more than your girlfriend. So these are the something that keeps with you, that you use all the time. You wake up not looking for anything else but your phone. At least that's for me. So that means dramatically. That means dramatically for me to as a changing to how the world would behave in the beginning of 2007 smartphone era. I got into J2ME like feature phones before that because I see that is already happening, and then smartphones since 2007, the Steve Jobs on the stage changed everything. That lasted for the whole, I would say, decade, right till now. What's interesting is you can see that this zero innovation or like minimal innovation on the smart devices. A good example is between Samsung S25 versus Samsung S24. Literally, it's just a slightly marginal changes, but core is the same. Reason for everybody hitting a bottleneck or pivotal point is just because there's no software innovation. Fundamentally changed iPhone is the software, not the hardware, right? Anybody can do the hardware. Hardware is always a commodity. I think this is hard for people in the West to understand that. But if you were able to go to China, work with any manufacturers, I think it's kind of like crazy thing to say. But a simple analogy is look into who are the top manufacturers of smart devices in the world. Aside from like Apple, aside from Samsung, all the top 10, if not all the top 5, if not top 10 list are ran by a Chinese manufacturer. That means a smart device, as complicated as people think, is actually a dogfight and a commodity. Look into the EV market. Aside from like Tesla, and look into who are the top 5 manufacturers for EV. As complicated as sounds like, it's all ran by Chinese manufacturers. That means these complexity could be modularized, and for our normies, we can, as well, we have a value proposition, and we can totally confidently go to the various of manufacturers to say, hey, we want a deal, because otherwise these manufacturers would be going under the dogfights between each other. That's how Chinese technology companies or Chinese manufacturer, breakthrough. Like a DeepSeek does not comes from nowhere. It's a quant fund coming from all these dogfights and competitions. And then again, necessity is the mother of invention. And then they start to realize, how can I use the best resources or deals on the table to thrive and to survive and thrive? And coming back to the smartphone, I think that is a necessity. But again, the growth is come to a bottleneck, especially coming to the AI era with all the LLMs. I think that changed everything. If we put the LLM aside, you can see the phones will be evolutionally will be evolving into foldable, tri-foldable, and this nonsense innovation is not necessarily a necessity, but people need to invent for the business reasons. But now with the LLMs coming out there, they changed everything. The previously introduced from text-bases UI to later the graphic UI, allowing people better navigate from a yellow page style, which I refer yellow page as similar. If you think about it, Google Play or App Store, this essentially a yellow page, like no different from early days Yahoo, that you would have to like looking for whatever feature in your face and so on and so forth. And down the road, there's second gen, there's Google, where you have to type in whatever your intent is, then they tell you whatever they found, right? And their third gen, which is dominating in terms of your intents, and I guessed what you like. So their good example for that would be TikTok. So it feeds you some by default, and then through your previous history or your reaction, then it give you some algorithm-based recommendations. I think now with AI, I mean TikTok is run by AI. Now with AI on these smart devices, we're coming to the third, if not fourth generation, where we may or may not need the graphic interface or human machine interaction anymore, coming to more a language, more ambient intelligence based human machine intelligence. It's a simple analogy to that. Put it to some picture. I think the way Tony Stark communicates to Jarvis is actually not so far away from us. What does it benefit, or how does it change our life? Fundamentally, our lives become simpler. I think technology, just the whole point is making our life more efficient. where through the AI, especially introducing like GPTs and all these large language models, making our life simpler because the variety of swarms of an agent can literally, based on our intention, and get tasks done without us to having to tap, click, swipe all the way through. Rather, we can just let and allocate the tasks towards the swarm's agents through the language models, which is getting our life done, our job done, and much more efficient.
Okay, so Roy, bringing it back to Up, how do the two pieces of hardware, right, the glasses and the phone, play into what you're trying to build? Like with the Saga, for instance, it's, from my understanding, like an effort launched by Solana, the Solana Foundation, to basically have user acquisition at the edge of the network, and to build like a crypto phone that has a wallet kind of embedded in it, and to try things out in terms of like the mobile experience. But from my understanding, you're trying to do a bit more than just like having a phone or having glasses. So how do the two pieces of hardware play into your overall strategy? Like what are you trying to build, and why is hardware involved?
Sure. Before I show you the glass, I want to underscore that we're doing a device-agnostic agentic operating system, meaning that we are not competing with anybody in the Web3 hardware space. As a matter of fact, we actually we love anybody in doing the bespoke DPing or doing the hardware in the crypto space, or like a smart device space in general, because we are a software layer, or specifically, we are a Web3 OS layer that helps, that works with every system, namely Android, iOS, and Mac, and Chrome, to NPC, let people utilize our system and get engaged into the Web3 features. So that's what we are positioning, and we love people like we love people like Saga, we love Jamble, because they have a very good positioning in the market, feeding, like Saga is a Solana ecosystem, where Jumbo is feeding in a lot of in the global south. I think that's the greater cause for the world. And another flavor into the industry where we come in is being like, hey, you know what? People are buying these glasses. People are buying these devices. Proven in Saga a Jumbo case for incentives. But why they need to buy the devices, right? Everybody would ask this question. On top of that, people are seeking the incentives, or do people really need something? The way I see that is, first of all, incentive is the key to fulfill the demand into the early seed user base. That's given. That's why fundamentally a lot of people in crypto, aside from the decentralization factor, for retail coming is first and foremost incentives. And secondly, that layer of access should be available to everyone, not only for the people who has a certain privilege or something. Everyone should be having access. With that said, only people who put extra effort, whether it's POW or TVL, however you define that, may have additional benefit. Again, you can see that's the whole funnel thesis coming. So in that regard, the way we see that, we should let everybody use the Agentic OS. And if people want to go for extra mile, they can redeem their commitment or their effort for a certain level of smart devices, right? Our sole goal is to bring the users to use the Agentic operating system to get their crypto life easier. But for people who want to go extra mile, to want to get even a better use case or a more adventurous experience, then they could opt in to redeem to get these smart devices in our network. So let me pause here a bit. Let me know if I answer your question.
For sure. So yeah, there's basically smart glasses and a phone, and you are device agnostic in the sense that you've really developed this Up OS, which can work on existing Android phones. It can work on iOS phones. It can work on obviously your phone in collaboration with Movement. It can work on Saga and other phones and the glasses. And so it allows those pieces of hardware to be kind of like Web3 native, or to give them a Web3 experience. So I'm assuming there's like, you can create a wallet, you can trade tokens. Like, those types of things. What do you mean when you say those people can put, those owners of those devices can put in more effort to receive a better experience? Like maybe if you could show us how that works, if you have one of the devices, or like just like what's the functionality, what's the Web3 functionality, and how do I get involved as a user if I have one of these devices?
The thesis is very simple. We are device agnostic, but we work with a network of device manufacturers who produce the devices that normies would use as a consumer electronic devices. Meaning the smartphone is something everybody would need now and then, right? My personal belief is like a smart glass is the anchor for the immersive prompt for the next era. So I think a lot of people will need smart glasses, proven by Meta selling Meta Ray-Ban for over 3 million units, and given huge confidence for Zuckerberg to get onto Joe Rogan's show and bash on Tim Cook doing nothing for Apple. So I think that that shows as a consumer as consumer device that's been popular and willing to engage with a 3 layer on top of it, we can have a way to, number one, subsidize the purchase cost for the users. So at the time, users not only look into these smart devices as a consumer device, which means whatever you put in there is sunk capital, right? Because you paid out, you're not getting your money back. But from the get-go, whatever you purchase now in a smart device with our OS loaded, you are also be able to open up to make certain level of rewards down the road. So that opens a different perspective for your calculation on getting involved. Of course, a smart device need to be good enough device for you to make the decision purchase. But if any manufacturer were to load it with our OS, which not complicating with whatever they do, like for example, our OS is a simple layer of SDK or API integration to any of their this existing app or systems, then and people can easily make the choice: do you want to pay $500 for this thing, or do you, which is gone forever? You may enjoy the device, or maybe it's broken tomorrow. Versus you want to pay $500, but you can see in certain future down the road, you may make some rewards back. So I think everybody would have a little bit understanding of the crypto, which I think a lot of people are now, would make the right choice. Then it comes to a pressure for these existing manufacturers. If they don't embrace that, what's the edge? Again, remember, manufacturing is a commodity.
Definitely. Yeah, there's like a deep in token earnings angle there, basically, which I think makes sense. We're almost at time here, so I want to just hit 2 quick questions before we wrap, which one is, why build on movement? It's an early stage emerging ecosystem. Like, what's the community been like there so far? How have your kind of OS building efforts been there? And then also, any information you can give us about the token. Will there be a token? What will it be used for? Do you see it as kind of pivotal to your efforts in building this OS? So just those 2.
I love Movement, and Rishi and the group, they definitely crushed it as a Gen Z, Gen Z leaders into crypto and American chain. I definitely see that is going to be the next wave, especially in the post-ETH era. I might be, I'm not sure that's the right statement, but it's just definitely to see Move as a language developed by Facebook being efficient in more AI and the deepening related use cases. And we love the community there, and we support it a lot. Again, but we are open to collab with other ecosystems as well, because the mass adoption is the key focus, right? I think Move will be a first step to get into that direction. And secondly, our token would basically utilize to combine the 4 parties together, namely users who basically will be earning these rewards related by engaging to the network. For example, contributing their data and behavioral to open up to other services, whatnot. That's how they earn, so on and so forth. And for data companies, basically now getting rid of the Googles of the world or Facebook of the world, but directly accessing the users in a more decentralized way and transparently, so that the data services can access these users directly. And they, of course, would use the tokens to make the purchase, so on and so forth. Now, thirdly, third party is the agent developers. Like in Web3 agents, they are consumer focused, i.e., they need users, not like Web2 agents that are more SaaS focused. So for retail focus in these discovery and distribution, where they can earn the payments from the services for more customization, but also they can pay into the token into better discoveries and recommendations. And the fourth party getting involved, of course, the device makers. Device makers, they prioritize on the device sales. Now we are for them, but we are offering a network of crypto users, which is relatively higher net worth individuals and more adventurous. So to access that network, they need to stake the token to access the network, but also burn the token to activate the incentives to each users to their new devices. So that is the four parties we bring to the equation and connect them through our tokens.
Okay, super cool. Well, we're over time now, so I want to let you go. But Roy, thank you very much for coming on. It's always really cool when a crypto project has some roots in the real world, whether it's a device or putting together a contributor community base. So glad you guys have two pieces of hardware out there, and excited to test them out myself. I'm jealous Mahesh has one. But yeah, thanks for
thank you
coming
so
on.
much.
For
The
sure.
phone's pretty cool for what it's worth.
And this is a smart glass. This is the world's first AI smart glass in the world. So basically, this is the glass that comes with this display over here, but also voice control over here. So this is like Jarvis immersively over your face, so that hopefully, not very soon, more people can see that. And definitely will send you guys a copy of that.
Yeah, I got to try it in the office. It's pretty cool. It can sort of translate stuff as of today. You see the display on your screen. But Roy, I guess last thing, where can people find you if they want to learn more? Or they're trying to, get involved in what you're doing. Where can they sort of find you and reach out to you?
Yeah, please go to UpNetwork.xyz. We have a lot of updates there. So looking forward to get more people into our community.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for the time today. And this has been an awesome pod.
Thank you so much for having me here.